Hello, this is Michael Bruce with TinyFrog Technologies. Thanks for taking a few minutes to watch this video, and we really appreciate the opportunity and your considering us for this project. So typically when we work with clients, we break our projects into three phases. We have a UX strategy phase, a custom design phase, and a development phase. So initially I'm going to turn it over to Brian Lewis to talk about the UX strategy phase of our process.
Well, hello, my name is Brian Lewis. I'm going to be talking about what to expect during the UX strategy phase of your site redesign. So the first thing is we want to learn as much as we can about you in a short amount of time. And the way we're going to do that is send you a questionnaire. It's a very detailed questionnaire, and it's going to cover things such as your business history, your products, your services, your marketing tactics, and your competitive ecosystem. Once we get that questionnaire back from you, we're going to do a thorough review, and then we're going to set up a call not to review the questionnaire with you, but to dig even deeper and kind of start peeling away a few more layers so we can get down to a very more deeper understanding of your company. After that call, then we're going to do some online research and start to prepare what we call visitor models or visitor profiles. Those visitor models are going to be key to the entire process of your website redesign. And what we're getting at there with the visitor profiles is really understanding the different classes of visitors to your website and the characteristics that they share. Really understanding the psychographics in terms of what's on their mind when they visit your site. What are their goals? What are their concerns? What's their level of knowledge? So we will draft those visitor profiles for you, and then we're going to set up a call to present those to you and collaborate with you on really finalizing those. We'll provide the foundation for those visitor profiles. Your knowledge and expertise of your prospects and customers is really going to be key in bringing the realism to those visitor profiles. Once we completed the visitor profiles, that, as I said, really sets the foundation for everything then moving forward. We'll then start working on your wireframes, and most of you are familiar with wireframes. For those that aren't, think of a blueprint for a custom house. A wireframe is simply how we're going to physically use the space of the web page. It doesn't have any imagery, doesn't have any colors, doesn't really have any font treatments. It's more about how we're going to lay out those elements to support the visitor goals based on those visitor profiles. And we are definitely going to be using those visitor profiles as we create those wireframes. And it's really helpful because it helps remove any of the personal biases that we might have on our team or that your team might have when it comes to laying out those elements on that page, because we can go back to those visitor profiles and say, does this support the needs and the goals of those particular visitors? Once the wireframes are approved, then the very last step that we'll be working together on is what's called the global navigation or information architecture. And that's about how your pages, your main pages, are going to be organized on the site, the taxonomy of those pages, how they'll be labeled, and how they'll be prioritized. And again, we're going to be using those visitor profiles as a means to help guide us in that decision making. Upon acceptance then of the global navigation, we'll then have a design handoff call, and we'll be transitioning into the design phase.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about the design phase of the project. It's important to mention that our team of designers are web graphic designers. They're technically graphic designers, but they specialize specifically in designing websites. Even though they have experience in branding and print and things like that, almost all of their time and energy and focus goes into designing and building and creating web pages, which is important because if you have a designer that doesn't have that kind of background, you won't get the same quality of website. So we only do custom web design, so we don't do design websites based on templates. Everything we do is custom. We have a custom strategy phase. We have a custom blueprint or wireframe that's going into that we're basing the design on. So it's very important that we do all of our work is custom, which also has a significant impact on the overall quality of the web page. So some of the things that we focus on during the custom design phase of the project, and first and foremost, is user experience. All of our web designers have a strong background and have a heavy emphasis on the design from creating a positive user experience. So that means that once the person or the visitor lands on the website, they're having an overall positive experience in the website. They're easily finding what they're looking for. They're emotionally engaged with the website. So the user experience is very important. Another thing that we focus on is the use of imagery. using pictures and iconography and visual representations of the website that are not only engaging but also support the messaging and support the content that goes on the website, so the website is more digestible, if you will, for the viewer or the visitor. We have a focus on visual hierarchy, using colors and fonts and other design elements to draw people's attention to the more important areas or aspects of the website, whether they be calls to action or different areas in which you're trying to guide the user throughout the path of the website visit. I mentioned font. Font treatment is very important. Choosing the right font to represent the business, choosing the right fonts to have a font consistency throughout the website, different web pages is going to be very important. Just choosing imagery in general is important, iconography and pictures, high quality imagery to represent the company in a very positive way. Another thing that's important is what we refer to as mobile-wise design. So obviously your website is going to be viewed on multiple different platforms, whether they be mobile devices or desktops or laptops or tablets. So it's important that the designer is factoring in or conceptualizing how the website's going to be adjusting for all those different platforms. So that's a very important thing for us as well. So there's a number of different things that go into our custom design process to create the highest possible quality website for you and your business. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the third phase of the project, which we've referred to as the development phase of the project or the coding phase of the project. So in this phase, we're building the website, and we build the website with WordPress. And most of you are probably somewhat familiar with WordPress because it's the most widely used web platform or content management system that does exist. In fact, over half the websites that get built now are using WordPress. So it's a really popular platform, which is important because if once you have your website built, anybody can work on it. Anyone who has familiarity with WordPress can work on it. Some of the other reasons we use WordPress is that it is a very expandable tool or system. So there's a huge network of add-ons or plugins, in fact, tens of thousands of different plugins. So if you wanted to expand your features or functionality, it's very easy to do with WordPress without having to do much custom coding. You can typically or essentially just plug in a particular feature into your website through WordPress. Another reason we use WordPress is that it's very easy for the user to manage and update the content on their website. So if you have a website and you have WordPress, you can easily log into the website and you can do everything from add content to add images, to create photo galleries, to upload videos, and the list goes on, depending on the different plugins that are added to the website. Another reason we use WordPress is that it does have some advantages for the search engines. WordPress was coded essentially to be optimized for the search engine, so that's definitely an advantage for a company that's doing any marketing. Another reason we use WordPress is that it has some features and functionality built in that tie into like the what we call web content accessibility guidelines, which are the American Disability Act has some requirements or requests that a website is user friendly for people who have hearing and visual impairments. And another reason we use WordPress, and one of the reasons we really like WordPress, is that it is designed in such a way that it's very easy to skin or build a very high-end custom design over the WordPress platform. So that allows us to do a very high-end design. And as a WordPress agency, we exclusively work with WordPress. We've done well over 1,000 WordPress sites. We have a team of 5 developers that are all they do is WordPress. So we have a team of 5 full-stack developers. So we can do everything from build a WordPress site to add just about every plugin, to evaluate plugins, to modifying plugins, and even building our own plugins in some cases as well. So we're very steeped in the WordPress ecosystem. And some of the best practices that we specialize in or focus on using WordPress is, and the first and foremost, is speed and security. So it's really important for us when we're building a website to build it in such a way that once the site launches, that it's running as fast as possible. I'm sure many of you have had this situation where you log in to a website or go onto a website and it loads very slow, or an image loads slow, or a page loads slow, which can be a very big issue for many different reasons. So speed and performance are critical. And then security. WordPress, unfortunately, has a reputation as being a fairly vulnerable platform. So security is really important for us. So we have a very strict protocol in how we build and manage websites to maintain a secure website. And we also choose a framework. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of different WordPress frameworks. So we use a WordPress framework that's very simple for our clients to use and manage and update, and it also tends to be much stronger on the speed and security side. So those are a couple things about our development phase and WordPress. So in general, if you have any questions on any of the different phases of the project, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we look forward to an opportunity to work with you.